Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Valley Barbell. So I know I haven't made a video in a while, so a lot of what I'm going to do in this video is talk about the last block of training that I did specifically on my deadlift, and then a lot of the things that I'm doing right now. And the main thing will be talking about something that I've been doing, and really I think everybody should do to get more consistent and better deadlift training. So my last block was a little bit of an interesting structure in that I didn't have any singles. I was working up to some really heavy triples at times and some pretty heavy tempo doubles on my deadlift. So this was a new structure for me most of the time, and I think most people who do powerlifting train with singles a good amount, and it tends to be that deadlifting gets at times less intense training or less heavy reps overall. Now, this block ended up being really good for me, but the thing that was interesting, I guess, for my execution was that I never did any reps without straps. So there wasn't a single day in the 5 weeks of the block, and even some of the pivot stuff that I was doing, I never used my grip on anything. So after Raw Nationals, that Raw Nationals may have been the last time that I actually deadlifted without straps. So there was 7 weeks of training that I didn't do anything or any reps that I did. It was always not using my hands. So the main idea that I had with this was that by the time my grip acclimated for me to be able to actually do well with a heavy triple or these tempo doubles, that it was going to be too late for my overall training process, and that my grip was going to be the main thing holding me back through all of that training. So I didn't want that to be the case. So from week one, day one, I used my straps the entire time. So of course, the grip strength is going to be a major part of people's overall deadlift quality and their overall deadlift strength, but there's a lot of other stuff happening. So if I limited myself in these heavy triples by what I could hold, I probably would have been hanging out in like the low 700s, where consistently I was pulling 750 and above on pretty much all of my deadlift training, and I got some really, really good quality deadlifting. And a lot of that is showing right now in my current block. So as we transitioned away from this block, or the last block, and moving into this one, I now have 2 deadlift singles per week. So my 2 deadlift days, I have a single on both of those days. This wasn't something that was planned around grip strength or really anything like that, but it worked out well as far as testing the overall process and testing just the idea that I could put together quality deadlift training and not be limited immediately by grip strength after 7-8 weeks of no grip training whatsoever. So right off the bat, my deadlift training has been going well this block. Have pulled 765 for a pause single, and really everything that I've done, I've had really, really high quality. So the singles for sure need to be pulled without straps, because that's the sport, right? If I can't hold a single, then there's, the deadlift strength overall is not going to be anything. I have to be able to do that in order to execute the deadlift. So all of my singles, I'm pulling without straps or with long holds, and to me, that's the best way to train your grip. So I think something that people maybe overlook with their grip strength is just the overall health of their hands. So because there's this big, faction of people online that think that you should only do deadlift training without straps and only use your hands, the problem is that we end up beating up our hands a whole lot. You have torn up hands or fatigued hands, and the grip ends up slipping just because you're tired or because your grip is hurting overall. And that leads to poorer reps, just the overall quality of the reps. Your hands get beat up, and then the deadlift training just isn't anything that's going to be progressible because you're trying to follow the advice of some tough guy on the internet. So what I think for sure needs to be a rule is that all singles need to be done without straps. But by using straps I use straps on every single one of my rep sets. It allows me a lot of options and allows me a lot of opportunity for good quality training. So some of the variations that I really like to use, higher rep deadlift sets, these long pause deadlift sets, the tempo deadlifts that I were doing, those are all something that really we can increase the overall quality by not worrying about grip strength. Another thing, a lot of sumo deadlifters end up having issues with opening up their hands on their thighs. So as their hand pulls across their thigh, we end up opening up that hand. Most of the time with things like baby powder or just on a single, we're able to overcome that and it's really not an issue. But as your grip strength deteriorates a little bit, through these sets, it ends up being more and more profound, and then we end up messing with just the overall output that we would be able to get with something that really shouldn't be a limitation. So I think it's something that if we allow ourselves a little bit of flexibility on, if you allow yourself to use straps, if you feel like your grip is a problem during working sets. Now, there's a lot of people, a lot of newer trainees that probably can do all of their work without using straps whatsoever. But I think this is more of an intermediate to advanced kind of idea that you can consistently get yourself just a high level of output by relaxing some of those rules just a little bit. So high rep sets, or anybody that has a weakish back tends to be dragging across their legs more. Those are things that could really benefit from strap training. So hopefully that's something that you can implement into your training right now and actually set some PRs regardless and without the straps or not. So one of the caveats to this would be that if you find that you have a much higher max with straps than without straps, most of the time we need to look at how you're pulling with the straps. So it tends to be that if somebody's max, if they can pull substantially more, they tend to be yanking the bar very hard, not pulling slack well, all of those kind of things. That to me is the main issue. And grip strength most of the time is not necessarily about just the strength of your hands, but it's how you're setting the bar and pulling slack off the floor. So I have a video on what I think is the best way to set your grip. The fingertip grip video, I have that linked down in the bio. So if you're having grip issues on singles, that's probably a good place to start. I don't think that this grip is necessarily the best thing that you should be doing on rep work, because again, you can open up on your thighs, or just the bar pulling on your thighs can open up your hand. So overall, it's probably something that really we should just measure off of the strength of your single. So hopefully that video allows you a little bit more flexibility to your training and allows you more PRs. So subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.